so defenseless, and he goes head first into the boards.
Knee on Cal Clutterbuck, and that was a dirty hit.
We have multiple reviews.
He shaking up.
See the replays. Let me see from the other angle.
We clip everything and we look at everything.
See that? I'm gonna want that clip. Let me see that hit, that last angle one more time. Clip it for me. Clip it.
We clipped over 800 incidents.
When the Toronto game ends, just show me the Orpik hit again. What are they giving him? You see it again? What happens to Boland in front? Is it Sanguinetti? Watch the tank here. Just want to see it.
People have no idea how much we do review.
Let me see from the other angle.
You can't just clip the suspendable plays. You have to know the difference between a 2-minute slash, a 5-minute slash, and a 3-game suspension slash. And you have to sort of have that knowledge to be able to understand scale. Is this a penalty? Is this a major? Is this a fine? Or is this a hearing and possible suspension?
Something is flagged that's noticeable, that's maybe even borderline obvious, that's going to require perhaps a hearing or at least the consideration of supplemental discipline. Take us through that process.
If I think something is more serious or requires more discussion, I'll write a group email, a reply to all, and all I'll ask is, I'll write one word with a question mark, and that's the word thoughts. Give me your thoughts. Well, they reply directly to me, so there's not this group mentality, you know? Like if Blakey says, he thinks it's bad, you don't want to disagree with Rob Blake, straight from the group, and give me a reason why we may all think this is something and you think it's something else.
What we don't hear often about are the number of calls you might make directly to players. How many warnings do you think you would issue over the course of a year?
I think last season, over 70 warning calls and conversations. They're usually good conversations with players. They're not defensive. They truly want to know what it was we saw that we didn't like. And really, the reason why I did it was it happened to me when I was playing. There were a couple of occasions where I'd bump into Colin Campbell somewhere, or I'd just hear from him, and he'd say, you know what, you're getting really close.
I'm trying to think back. Wasn't there a time where you had to visit Coley Campbell, literally drive to his house?
I might have tossed a ref a game puck at the end of the game and congratulated him on what I thought was a really good night, except I probably didn't say it all that nicely.
And you had to drive to the farm, or was he?
Yeah, no, he said, come meet me. And I said, where are you in Detroit? And he said, no, come meet me on the 401 in Ingersoll at on the side of the road. So that was about a 2.5-hour drive. Probably took about 3.5 hours because it was raining that night. I pulled over after 3.5 hours in my car. He was on the side of the road in his pickup truck. He was out in the farm, so he had work boots on and jeans. And I got out of the car. I pulled up beside his. I got out. I walked over to him, and he pointed at me. He said, "Smarten up." And then he got back in his car and he drove away.
What's the penalty, cross-checking or high-sticking? I want to see it again.
What's been your most difficult decision so far?
Like Dane Byers. Dane Byers was a guy I played with in New York a little bit. He was up and down in the minors, and he had just been called up for Columbus, and he had an illegal hit to the head.
Byers going to get a penalty here for that hit.
When you're suspending a guy that they're going to send back to the minors, it's tough for him to get called back up to clear those games on a roster. That was heartbreaking for me. We did our job. We had to do it. I always have to remind myself about the livelihood and career of the players that are getting some of these illegal hits on the receiving end. But I remember the Dane Byers one being really difficult for me.
Show that last angle again, slowly. Okay, clip it.
Gets it back in his shoes.
Yeah. He sort of grazes him, eh?
People will ask me all the time, do you like your job? And I'll say, no, there's nothing likable about this job. I like the challenge. And I'm serious about what it is we're trying to accomplish. You're only reaching out to people usually with, on their worst day. When somebody has a clean game, you're not calling up the GM and saying, hey man, you guys were awesome, everybody was clean. You're calling the GM to usually give them bad news. But there are certain hits that, as a culture of hockey players, are starting to hopefully get weeded out.